This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here at Raw Wine Fair 2023 in Toronto with none other than Bairrada winemaker Filipa Pato. How are you today?
Fantastic. It seems like we brought the sun from Portugal today.
Oh, I think it's wonderful to have this kind of beautiful autumnal weather. It's just, I love it. And it means I can do interviews outdoors, which is great. Now, for those people unfamiliar with your property down there in Portugal, tell us a little bit about it.
We live in a very small area, Portugal, that is right in the center north of Portugal,
Yeah.
a little bit south of Porto, 1 hour south of Porto, 2 hours north of Lisbon, on the coast. So we are very near to the Atlantic coast, and this is a huge influence in our wines and climate. And then our area is just 5,000 hectares, which is very small comparing to other regions in Portugal and in France. So it's like Jura size.
Yeah, size-wise, yes. Now, your father is quite heavily involved in the wine business in Portugal. I've been familiar with his work for quite some time. So you were basically born into a winemaking family.
Yes. I was born I was lucky to be raised in the countryside with a very big tradition of wine growing, with my father, with my mother, and my grandparents. So since very young, I was involved in the nature, and this is what keeps me living in Bairrada. I love this nature more than vines. I love nature.
So when did you start your own project, and what was the philosophy when you began the project? Because you're now here at Raw Wine Fair, which is natural, organic, biodynamic, low intervention wines. Tell us a little bit about how you came to that conclusion was the best way to make wines where you are.
Exactly, because I love nature, and I'm a mother of 2 kids, so my kids are 12 and 14. So as a mother, you want to give the most natural and healthy environment possible, that they grow up in a very wealthy ambience.
Yes.
So for me, biodynamic was fantastic way to know better the nature of Bairrada. I had a chance to experiment biodynamic wines thanks to my husband, because he's from Antwerp and he had a wine bar, restaurant. It was sommelier, so he introduced me to this kind of wine.
I see.
I started to be very impressed with them, and I started to visit a lot of growers. And then I was thinking, why not to make it in Bairrada? So I was so fond of local grape varieties, authentic wines without makeup. So I wanted to show the strong identity of Bairrada. Nothing better than biodynamic natural wines to make it happen.
Now, you deal exclusively with very particular indigenous grape varieties. Would you mind telling us about those?
Yes, in fact, Bairrada is the region of 3 Bs. It's easy to remember because it's Bairrada, Bical is the white grape, and Baga is the red grape. So our region is a bit an exception of Portugal, because normally in Douro, in big regions of Portugal, is mostly the blends. In our region, we have more the monovarietal. So in the reds, old vineyards, and we have a lot of old vineyards over 100 years old.
Oh wow, okay, centenary vineyards, yeah.
Yeah, that's really old vineyards. We have even a prephyloxeric vineyard at Baga, so it's very old vineyards. And this proves that the monovarietal in Bairrada is really happened for a long time, and it's because they were adapted to this climate. Before pesticides, herbicides arrived there, it was already like this, because was the grape variety adapt to this climate. So I kept this local grape variety Baga. We're very fond of Baga. Also like my father, which always put his effort in Baga. And we work with these old vineyards with that are not mechanizable. So it's like old vineyards over 100 years old, bush vines. We cannot use a tractor. Everything has to be by hand. So we use a lot of animals like sheep. We use small pigs, because pigs are a local animal in Bairrada. If you go to Bairrada, you'll understand why, because
I've been there. Yes,
you've been there,
I
you
know.
see.
Yeah.
So you probably ate the suckling pig.
Oh yes,
That's the
many
traditional
times actually. Yes.
dish in Bairrada. So the idea of the pigs was because of this tradition. When you work biodynamic, you start to think what is the typical things in your region, what is your botanics in the area, what is your animals typical growing there. So the reason I put the pigs is exactly because it's a local animal. So and they adapt so well there because it rains a lot in the winter, it rains a lot in springtime. So they super happy pigs in the vineyards.
I have to ask you, what are the biggest challenges when it comes to farming vineyards biodynamically in your region?
The big challenge is the springtime, because it rains quite well in April, May. So we have a bit of pressure of mildew.
Yes.
But with Baga is much more resistant to the fungus than the other grapes. And Bical suffers a little bit with the powder mildew, but we could find good plants that treat very well the powder mildew, like oregano. We have a lot of oregano in the vineyards. We have a lot of fennel around the vineyards. So we use a lot of plants from the bushes around, from the abandoned areas around, that we keep biodiversity. So when we have vineyards, our vineyards are not only vineyards, are vineyards together with olive trees, with fig trees, with apple trees. We create biodiversity of trees and plants, because this way you have the original ecosystem, and the ecosystem are in balance with their own rhythm.
For those of our viewers who would like a quick 101 on each of the two varieties that you grow, would you mind telling them a little bit about each of them? Both Baga and the one that I always have trouble pronouncing.
Bical.
Bical, there you go. I called it something else the other day, yes.
Bical is a grape variety, adapts very well to the limestone soil. It absorbs a lot this minerality, because the soil from limestone, Jurassic inferior, is full of minerals. And Bical absorbs a lot this mineral character, and also gives a touch of pear when he's young. When he gets older, he gets more into the nuts, hazelnuts. We have also the beeswax character coming up. So it is a very interesting grape to drink or young, or after 2, 3 years, 10 years. Is a white wine that can age very well. The Baga is a red grape, and the red Baga, when it's young, is quite aromatic and fruity.
Yes, yep.
Even when you vinify it lower alcohol, like we do, we don't like to reach very high maturation. So we like to have, I always compare to harvest Baga is like when you make a steak, not raw, but not overripe.
I understand.
I like to have these succulent tannins, and timing of harvest for me is crucial, to have this kind of profile of wine that is very inviting to have a second glass. It's very pure, elegant, pleasant to drink. And when it's older, Baga can develop very interesting character of all the forests around. It absorbs a lot of pine woods, olives and mushrooms. It's great, and truffles, and it's quite complex grape variety, because it's very aromatic and fruity in the beginning, and then after 10 years develops these secondary flavors, and it can age until 40, 50 years.
Now Baga does inherently have quite a high tannic content, right?
Yes.
And hence the age-worthiness of those Baga wines.
Tannins and acidity.
Yes,
we have always good acidity, and these two facts help a lot to age well the wine.
I tasted a wine from you just a few moments ago, which was a skin contact Bical, but you used no sulfur whatsoever, and you had used something quite fascinating instead of sulfur. Please tell us a little bit about that.
So this is an experiment one friend of mine did in Vinho Verde, that is Quinta de Palmeirinha. It's a friend of mine that is also biodynamic certified. So we speak a lot, and his grandson decided to do winemaking. And then he asked me, can he goes to make a stage with you? And he came, and his grandfather first tried these chestnut petals.
Wow, chestnut petals. So from the flowers of the chestnut.
Yes, the flowers. He harvest in the springtime when the flowers are in the chestnut, and the chest trees, and then he cuts it small, and then he uses it in the skin or in the wine, and is antifungic and antioxidant. So
antimicrobial,
he can replace the use of sulfates with this.
Fantastic! I'd never heard of that before. That's a new one on me. So.
Yes, I was very surprised with this experiment of Fernando Paiva, the wine grower. And as his grandson was making an internship with us last year in 22 harvest, I decided to make a wine with him with the experiment of these petals, and it worked really well because the wine didn't oxidize. It keeps very stable. Even when you open a bottle, I leave sometimes 2-3 days. It doesn't oxidize.
Interesting.
So it's a very interesting method. I'm happy to add thanks to Fernando and his grandson.
Well, Filipa, thank you so much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today. Really appreciate your time, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the Raw Wine Fair Toronto.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Bye for now.